I am a Rudy Poo candy ass.
At the time of making this video, we are 31 days away from the 2024 election. The election between Kamala Harris and Tim Walz representing freedom, and Donald Trump and J.D. Vance representing fascism. And it's kind of weird because I keep asking everyone in the last 10 years who has fallen, who has died, and who at the very least has gone to prison for Donald Trump one simple question. Was it worth it? Was it worth destroying your life or losing your life in the name of Donald Trump? Is it worth acting like Al-Qaeda or ISIS, like suicide bombers, killing yourself, destroying yourself for Donald Trump? That's a question I like to ask today's candy ass, Tina Peters. Now, for those who don't know who this woman is, let me give you a small background on her. This is a woman who denied the 2020 election results that didn't go into the favor of Donald Trump, who actually tried to change the results, to interfere the election, steal the election for Donald Trump. Now, last month, she was found guilty of allowing a man associated with the MyPillow idiot, Mike Lindell, to enter the Mesa County, Colorado election system after the 2020 election, a breach that gave illegal access to the very voting data that it was her job as county clerk to protect. She tried to steal the election for Donald Trump. She tried to steal the election, and no doubt was thinking about trying to do it again. We already know that there are plots out there trying to help Trump steal the election this year. We know this. How do we know this? Is because we know they tried to do it the first time. They got caught, and to this point, only a handful of people have seen justice done to them. The fact of the matter is this. This woman destroyed her life for Donald Trump. Her career destroyed, her reputation annihilated. And thanks to the judge in this case, she's going to spend 9 years in prison. Matter of fact, here is some excerpts from the judge pretty much putting the fire and brimstone into her in the courtroom.
Here, the defense has, and Ms. Peters in particular, has remained quite defiant, which is her right, but certainly not helpful for her lot today. And in arguing why I should impose a particular sentence, she tells me about her ailments, her loss, her struggles in life. But in reality, for those of you who may have been here earlier this morning and seen some of the folks who've occupied that chair before Ms. Peters, there could be not much in the way of a comparison in terms of the type of sympathy one would extend to Ms. Peters. Those folks didn't have 4 lawyers representing them. They didn't have a team of assistants helping them. They're not getting rides in private jets all over the country. No, the people who sit in that chair suffer, generally speaking, immeasurable trauma in life, struggle mightily with alcohol abuse, substance abuse, mental health struggles, family loss. They come from broken homes. The cards they were dealt were never the cards that you were dealt, Ms. Peters. So when I hear you discuss your husband, who sadly passed away recently, your family struggles, and your son, who served our country admirably and made the ultimate sacrifice, I consider it. And I note too that he honored his oath to the country, something that is not lost on me when considering the circumstances under which you find yourself here. Your age, limited criminal history, and the like are certainly somewhat mitigating. Your ties to the community are what they are, but your reputation at this point is poor because of what you've done here and after. Your lies are well documented, and these convictions are serious. I'm convinced you would do it all over again if you could. You're as defiant as a defendant as this court has ever seen. You don't have those histories of drug and alcohol abuse. There's no lifetime of trauma, not even close to the type of mitigating circumstances I would see from many folks who sit in that chair. No, to the contrary, Ms. Peters, you are a privileged person. You are as privileged as they come. And you use that privilege to obtain power, a following, and fame. And to be sure, there's no doubt in my mind that it's exactly what you wanted, and it defies all sense of common sense to believe when you suggested to me a few moments ago that you didn't want this attention. No, you crave it, ma'am. And there is no one in this courtroom who would consider that to be anything other than the absolute truth. But to get to the point of what it is that you did here, it's my impression distinctly that you never took your job of clerking particularly seriously. You didn't complete the certification. One scandal after another followed you in your time as the clerk. And ultimately, it was a belief that the echo chamber in which you live couldn't be wrong, among other things, that led you to do what you did here. This thought process, unfortunately, seems to consume so many in our country, regardless of race, gender, political affiliation, or the like, that what it is we hear and think can't possibly be wrong. There are many things in my mind that are crystal clear about this case. You are no hero, you abused your position, and you're a charlatan who used and is still using your prior position in office to peddle a snake oil that's been proven to be junk time and time again. In your world, it's all about you. But at bottom, this case was about your corrupt conduct and how no one is above the law. No one in this country has absolute power. Your position as a clerk and recorder, a constitutional position, does not provide you with a means by which to do your own investigation, to not listen to the judiciary, to not listen to the executives higher than you, to not listen to the legislature who sets the law as it may be. This is nonsense. Our system of government can't function when people in government think that somehow, some way, the power they've been given is absolute in all respects. And that's where you fell. You have no respect for the checks and balances of government. You have no respect for this court. You have no respect for law enforcement. And you do not have respect for your fellow colleagues when you were a clerk and recorder who weren't lockstep in your beliefs. Period. Indeed, just weeks before trial, you were apparently doing what I mentioned earlier, that is, over at the clerk and recorder's office where you're not supposed to be, violating the protection order by speaking to employees of that entity with your camera crew in tow. You have no qualms with violating the court's orders because you're innocent, because you didn't do anything wrong. You were just doing your job. You have no problem trying to kick an officer. Your explanation about what happened is preposterous. It's on video. You have no problem lying to officers. It's happened multiple times. They're recorded conversations. It's just more lies. No objective person believes them. No, at the end of the day, you cared about the jets, the podcasts, and the people fawning over you. You abdicated your position as a servant to the Constitution, and you chose you over all else. Yes, you are a charlatan, and you cannot help but lie as easy it is for you to breathe. You betrayed your oath for no one other than you. And this is what makes Ms. Peters such a danger to our community. It's the position she held that has provided her the pulpit from which she can preach these lies, the undermining of our democratic process, the undermining of the belief and confidence in our election systems. It's not about questioning it. No one says you can't question, you can't ask. It's completely different. And if you don't understand that distinction, then there's nothing I can say or do here today that will change your mind. So the damage that is caused and continue to be caused is just as bad, if not worse, than the physical violence that this court sees on an all too regular basis. And it's particularly damaging when those words come from someone who holds a position of influence like you. Every effort to undermine the integrity of our elections and public's trust in our institutions has been made by you. You've done it from that lectern the voting public provided you with. Everything you've done has been done to retain control, influence. The damage is immeasurable. And every time it gets refuted, every time it's shown to be false, just another tale is weaved. So I'll begin by saying I've considered all of those purposes of staying of an execution of a sentence. I've mentioned all of them here generally in my comments already, and I find that a stay of any sentence I impose would be wholly unwarranted. All cases have a possibility of reversal on appeal, no doubt. I'm at peace with all of the decisions I've made here. If anything, I gave you and your counsel far too much leeway at times, but the rulings I made came after much consideration, incredible amounts of internal debate, and I trust in accordance with the applicable law. I consider the sentence here, in this case, what are available to me. Probation. Community corrections wasn't requested, but it wouldn't be an option in any event, and an incarcerative sentence to the Department of Corrections. Probation's focus is rehabilitation. That is, for folks who have minimal criminal histories, low LSI scores like you, Ms. Peters, but where punishment isn't really on the table. It's about putting someone back in the community who's not a risk and giving them a chance to correct those things that brought them before me in the first place. Community corrections, which again isn't available, but nevertheless I'll mention, is another option that I could still order. It's much more stringent than probation, but it's not prison. And it's for folks who have even higher needs. Again, drug addicts, alcohol abusers, and the like. And prison is for those folks where we send people who are a danger to all of us. Whether it be by the pen or the sword or the word of the mouth. Prison is where folks go, where punishment is what we're focused on, because the crime committed is so significant that anything less would unduly mitigate the seriousness of the same. I mentioned before there are no mental health concerns. There's no good reason why you're here, Ms. Peters, other than these are all the active decisions that you made that cost our county significantly, but also more importantly, cost you greatly, Mr. Wood, all the members of the county who worked and trusted you when you asked them to do things that they did on your behalf. It's part of your lies. The expense, the toll is immeasurable. So putting you on probation when you have zero needs that would be met by probation is the very definition of unduly depreciating the significance of what it is that you've done here, the harm that you've caused our community and continue to cause. Community corrections is the same, so prison is the only place that duly meets the purposes of sentence.
Now, with all respect to Judge Barrett, you were incredibly nice to that woman. Me personally, I would have shown no mercy. I would have shown absolutely no mercy to that woman. And the one person I think you should have mentioned in that speech of yours before you were sentenced her was the one person that should be right next to her in every respect. And that name is Donald Trump. We know that Donald Trump had a hand in doing this scheme to steal this election in 2020. We know that you would have done the same thing right now in 2024 if you didn't get caught back then. And quite honestly, Piers, I'm not going to shake your hand. I'm not going to hold your hand. I'm not going to kiss you on the head and make you feel better. I'm just going to tell you the straight up 100% truth. You destroyed yourself. Plain and simple. You destroyed yourself. You destroyed your family. The judge mentioned that your son died in the service of our country in the military. So you disgraced him. You disgraced your profession. You disgraced everything about you. All for the service of Donald Trump. All of it. You people see this guy like he's God. Like he's Jesus Christ hanging on the cross. He is not. The fact of the matter is, and I made this clear in a couple of videos, in a short video I did, that people like you would be banging in the nails to Jesus if you had the chance. More to the point, if Donald Trump gave you the order. You destroyed yourself. But you got plenty of time to think about it. Like 9 years of your life. And if it were up to me, you'd be doing a hell of a lot more than 9 years. And Donald Trump can't save you on this one. Even if he gets reelected, he's not going to be able to pardon you. You broke federal law. And even Donald Trump, as powerful as he thinks he is, as he wants to be, isn't going to be able to do it. But the real danger I really have with people like you is that you're trying to do it all over again. We know Trump is trying to get back in the White House. We know that his chances of being elected in a fair election are slim to nil. We know that he and his people are trying to steal the election again. And we know they're going to get caught. At some point, someone always talks. They're going to get caught again. They're going to be charged again. They're going to be sent to prison again. And Trump won't do a damn thing to help them. Not because he can't. Not only because he can't, let me put it that way, but because he won't. Because he doesn't care. And as I asked earlier in this video, I asked the question, is it worth it? Is he worth it? Is Donald Trump really worth going to prison for? Destroying your life for? Destroying your family's lives for? Going to prison for? If I had the opportunity of talking to Tina Peters face to face right now, I would ask those questions. And quite honestly, I don't know what kind of answer I would get. And I don't want to speculate of what kind of answer I'll get. But if she's half the human being, half the person, half the mother I like to think she is, she would say, no, it wasn't. But we're living in a time that Donald Trump has become the MAGA Christ. Their version of Jesus Christ hanging on the cross. We all know it. We all see it. They're willing to destroy themselves. Matter of fact, if I really want to piss you all off, the MAGA is like Al Qaeda or the ISIS. They're like those people who flew those planes into the Twin Towers on September 11th, 2001, thinking that their sacrifice will make them greater glory to Allah, when all the while they're bringing greater glory to a madman. That's what they are now. That's what Tina Peters is. She's a suicide bomber. and destroyed her life, thinking that she'll bring great glory to her particular Allah named Donald Trump. And all she did was destroy her life in stupidity. But again, before I close this video out, we know they're going to try this again. It's already in the works. Regardless of how Kamala Harris is doing in the polls in swing states, regardless of how amazing she's doing, they're going to try this again. It's up to us to make sure they don't succeed, like Tina Peters didn't succeed. Make a plan and fight with our votes. But as for you, Tina Peters, convict Tina Peters, you destroyed yourself, you destroyed your family, all for the sake of Donald Trump. You are a coward, you are a traitor, you are a destructive, manipulative bitch, and I swear to God, you are nothing more than
a Rudy Poo candy ass.
CTP, know the truth. God bless. Peace to the left, justice to the right.